America's 250th anniversary is a big event, and if you're promoting a business, your advertising plan needs to be bigger than one channel. iHeart can help you bring your message to life across podcasts and broadcast, meaning your business will show up with scale and depth wherever your customers are listening. America 250 builds up into the July 4th weekend when listeners are traveling, celebrating, and tuned in. Let iHeart help you surround those moments. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Hi, this is New Jersey Attorney General Jen Davenport. If you are caught driving impaired, you face hefty fines, a suspended license, and possibly even jail time. Worse yet, you could cause a crash that would devastate someone's life or your own. Be responsible. Never drive drunk or high. Hi, this is New Jersey Attorney General Jen Davenport. Before you enjoy a night out, have a plan for a safe, sober ride home, because impaired driving can wreck it all. Be safe, be responsible, never drive drunk or high. Together, let's prevent a tragedy on New Jersey's roads.
Home is not just where you live. It's where life happens. It's where your kids take their first steps, where family dinners turn into memories, and where your future quietly begins. At Rate, we understand that buying a home isn't just a transaction. It's one of the biggest moments of your life. And if you already own one, refinancing isn't just about numbers. It's about peace of mind. It's about lowering your payment, paying off debt, or finally taking that vacation you've been dreaming about. That's why we make the process easy, clear, and personal. No pressure, no confusion. Just honest guidance from people who care. Whether you're buying your first home or your next one, or refinancing the one you love, let us help you feel confident every step of the way. Rate. Great rates, amazing people, and a better way to home. Call 713-256-9138 today to get started. That's 713-256-9138.
If you run a business, consider this. 77% of Americans say our nation's 250th birthday is an appropriate time to celebrate. That gives you the green light to advertise. Let iHeart help you advertise around America 250. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com.
Welcome to the show, it's the Real Estate Rat Pack. Talking Houston homes, yeah, we're bringing the facts. From the Heights to Katy, Sugar Land too. If it's hot in real estate, we're talking it through. We've got trends, we've got taste. Where to buy, where to live, where to fill up your plate. It's the Real Estate Rat Pack, rolling in style. Houston's own vibe with that big city smile. So grab your coffee, turn that dial. The pack's in the house, let's make it worthwhile.
Homes, food, fun, you already know.
Good morning, Texas. We're going to have to work on that a little bit. So, welcome to the show. And I've got some people here that I've been wanting to get on for a little while. Milly and Cory Kammerdiener, and they have HOMEROCK Realty, which is a fairly new name, but they've been in the business a very long time. So, introduce yourself. Tell me your story, how you got in here, and maybe give it a little bit of your military background as well.
So I am Cory Kammerdiener, and I ended up in real estate about 23 years ago when I got out of the military. And it seemed like nobody wanted to hire anyone back then because we just gone through the 9/11. Remember the 9/11? And we had to figure out,
I have a vague memory of that, yeah.
Well, I'll never forget that. And, they say remember Pearl. I say remember 9/11, right? And so struggled getting a job, but there was a local home building company here in Houston called Royce Homes that later became Royce Builders. They became a mega empire in the home building industry with about 24-year history. And they decided to give this veteran a chance. And I didn't have a college degree or anything, but they said, we heard that you're good at working internet leads, because their head recruiter used to work at a job that I used to work at. And I said, yeah. In the military, we had this awesome website called Navy.com. And when people were signing up to join the military, I would get those leads on my little laptop, and I would call them, and I'd convince them why it was the world's greatest Navy, and they'd be a fool not to join. And so that's what my first experience with internet leads. And they said, hey, we got this website, and we're marketing on all the sporting events and beauty pageants. And when these leads come in, we're finding that regular humans don't know how to talk to complete strangers. and we want to get you involved. Do you think you can handle talking to strangers that are submitting lead requests to our communities?
Well, I think if you can recruit people into the Navy during that time period, you could talk someone into anything at that point in time. Yeah. Now, you previously had one, newhomeprogram.com was your previous one. And so give me kind of the genesis of that, because that was a really interesting program. And I was a little doubtful when you and I first met, and that's been quite a number of years ago.
I remember.
I was like, big doubtful. So you're going to take people that have bad credit and take them to new home construction. Just kind of give me
no money for down payment.
No.
So being with the background in computer technology, literally I was in the Navy when the internet came out, and this was before AOL version 1.0. That was most civilians' introduction to the internet. So having access to internet and in a time when we secured it, which means we can put message traffic from commands on land to submarines, I was the guy who was handling the traffic. We went from floppy disks to sending messages through the internet. So because I had advanced knowledge of technology, and when fiber optics came out, they sent me to school to be able to splice fiber optics.
That's back in the day, they really were floppy disks, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? This was before even CD-ROMs. So I used my background in the military when I worked for that home builder, because there's like, hey, I don't want to work for you guys anymore. I can make more money as a real estate agent and sell everything. So I said, one day, people will go to the internet to look at properties online. And I knew it was true, because the first thing that humans started doing, when I say humans, I'm talking about people, okay? It's just my terminology I use. But when people first got introduced to the internet, the first two things that became very popular was online banking and e-commerce. And in the military, I used to go door to door selling dial-up and telling people for $19.99 you can have access to the internet. I can sell it to you. I can sell you a Dell, but here's the benefit to you. You'll never have to go to an ATM and put that plastic card to check your balance, because you can check it from your computer, right? This was before smartphones and mobile apps, right? So when I was at Royce and I needed an exit strategy to become a real estate agent, not being from Texas, I don't know anybody, right? And I'm not going to have the RoyceBuilders.com website. So I said, I'm going to create a website with 3 powerful keywords. I understood back then Yahoo ranked people organically based on keywords. Google was not even a household name. So I said the word new home programs, those 3 keywords. If I can monopolize it and create the first realestate.com, newhomeprograms.com, before Zillow, before Trillo, before homes.com, a legal entity named newhomeprograms.com, I know the people will come. If you build it, they will come. And I built
Where have I heard that phrase before?
Is it trademark?
You're going to hear me saying a lot of that with the HOMEROCK brand too. But I built the website. There was no IDX feeds or any of that other stuff. HAR had a system called Tempo, which was their MLS. So they didn't have all this technology.
But we did migrate to the web. We did migrate to the web in '97. So we already did have a website. We already were accessing that, but it was not. I mean, it was in a basic.
It wasn't companies out there that could get their hands on, they call it the REITs feed, right? The data would pull all the properties in, until like the Zillow and the Redfins really caught on to that. So what I did was I just went around taking pictures of brand new home builders and putting them on a website, and I built a website. And back then on websites, there was a little counter on the bottom of every page so you could see how many visitors. All I know is when I launched this thing, that thing was spin. And I think when it hit probably, it was either 100,000 or 1 million, it would reset. And this thing just kept flipping. And it just started creating a massive amount of leads that as an agent, I was able to close guaranteed 40 closings per year. Only brand new homes, never sold resale, never did rentals, right? Didn't have a real estate assistant because there was no such, the book that's called The $1 Million Team or The $1 Million
Real Estate Agent,
I don't even think that was written yet, right? I didn't know anything about a team.
Yeah, that was written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Exactly.
So I don't remember when it was written either.
Yeah, so I just sold the heck of a lot of homes to the point that the leads were so overwhelming that my problem was I couldn't handle the leads. So then in 2010, I said, why don't we just start a company, a brokerage, and call it newhomeprograms.com, and then I would start recruiting agents and then give them leads, and then we would have a split. So that was newhomeprograms.com, how it started. And it was just a niche, brand new homes. Why people with bad credit, first-time home buyers, is because builders, economically, they have to sell in order to stay in business. So back then, you could have like a 550 credit score, right? Go through subprime lending, And builders like, hey, we don't care where the money comes from as long as you buy our house, but also they're willing to give more seller contribution. FHA, 6% seller contribution. So it was a perfect mathematical storm that if I found people that had no money for down payment, subpar credit, then just by getting their earnest money to put down, I'd sell a lot of homes. And I did that. I'm still living off that same database 20 years now.
Yeah, well, they still have programs out there with the 550 that you can buy something. They are looking for more down in some cases, though. And so that's the problem. Back then you could get, if you could fog a mirror, you could probably get a loan. And that's kind of changed.
Yeah, back then you could roll in, because FHA was 3% down back then. You could roll the 3% into the sales price of the home, and the builder could pay your down payment by sending it to a nonprofit organization, and then they would give it to you as a gift.
So, Milly, you got involved with this man. You've all been married how long now?
Almost 20 years. July 7th will be our anniversary for 19 years.
Awesome.
So he was actually my realtor. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He sold me my first house. And I like to say that he still owes me a ring because he paid for this ring with the commission.
Oh.
The commission of the sale of my house.
So I see how this works. I made you that money, and you bought me the ring with the money I made you.
See, you see the problem, right, Rob?
I see that. Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, it's been a journey. You guys were talking about, back in the day when people were trying to get homes in subprime and all these things. A lot of banks and a lot of people went out of business because they were not responsible.
I was around.
And exactly. And because of people like you and ourselves and people that had that responsibility to the buyers, we're still players in the game,
and
right?
we're still here,
still here. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves is we have our clients' best interest. As a broker, our clients are our agents, and our agent's client is the buyers. And so we are producing brokers. So we also are out there selling and whatnot. But I met Cory back in 2003 or 2004. Anyways, my math.
It's not a test. Yeah.
Right. But anyways, he actually was a big help because I was living in California, San Diego. And so I transitioned here some sort of abruptly. That's another show for another time. But I needed to find a place to be. And that place was the Woodlands, and he was the agent. We actually met on MySpace. I think we just.
Oh, I remember MySpace.
God bless Tom.
How long has that been?
It's been a very long time. But when I don't want to say that because people these days, what is that, right? They're not aware. It's like we had a friend in common. Remember our friend Tom? He was friends with everybody. But yeah, so I was not in real estate. I was a pre-med. Believe it or not. He sold me my first house, and then we started going on dates. And all I noticed is that he was on the phone constantly, and then he would receive this big checks. And I'm like, is he legal? What is he doing? I didn't want to ask questions about his finances or whatnot, but, so when, he would say something like, hey, do you want to go to the movies? I was like, yeah, sure. Oh, but I have to stop by the office. He was selling me without telling me, right? So I got to stop by the office. I said, okay. An hour appointment with people that were older than us, crying in these meetings because they were able to get money for a down payment, get their first home. I remember specifically a couple was in their 50s and 60s. We were in our 30s and 20s. And I'm like, what just happened? And he explained to me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
They never thought it was possible.
I never, what? I didn't even know. For me, I'm from Venezuela. So coming from a third world country and knowing that the opportunity is here, I never knew what that opportunity was.
Well, Venezuela became a third world country, but it had the third largest economy at one point in time.
I know, and it's a pretty country, and pray for it, and hopefully this transition, it really comes out. But honestly, coming to the United States, my parents just instilled on us, work, have an education, work, and make something of yourself, right? And so that's been my motto. But if you don't know where the opportunity is, how do you get that opportunity? And so I'm very appreciative of Cory because he's not only my husband, but he's my business partner. And for us to build something together, I was able, when I decided, okay, I can, if he can do this, I can do this. And I passed 28 days. I took my classes, I passed my test, never looked back. And my mom was a little upset because I didn't continue with pre-med, but whatever. Sometimes I feel like we made more money than, the doctors with a lot of student loans, and I do not have student loans, by the way.
There you go. There's an advantage of that for absolutely stuff like that.
The DBM, dominant buying motive.
He was always telling me, I got to take care of it.
Why do you want to do that? What's the end result? What are you trying to achieve? Where do you see yourself in the future?
Do you feel like you're constantly being coached?
Yeah, but that's a good thing, though, because, I see the trajectory, for where we are now to where we begun, and it's been a journey. It's been ups and downs. It's a lot of trial by error. We didn't have someone that we could say, oh, this was our mentor in real estate and we did this. No, we figure things out on our own, and sometimes there was a heavy price to pay. But would I do it again? Absolutely.
Well, those are the lessons you keep.
That's right.
The ones that impact you
That's right.
heavily. Because I can speak to that, but I'm not going to today. But it was the 80s was a big challenge a lot, and we had things that never had happened before, like oil going to $9 a barrel.
Oh goodness!
People thought 2008 was tough. Yeah, 80s it was much worse. We had what we call see-through buildings. People that developed buildings and had 0 tenants in it, and so
kind of like right now.
Yeah, well, no, not that. Well, it's
odds are going up quick.
But there are still things. If I was going to build something today, and I started in commercial, I would probably be building office warehouses. Because even if you're doing an internet company, you got to have a place for your stuff.
For sure.
So anyway, now you transitioned into, you're still doing a lot of new home sales because you represent Brookfield, which is probably at least $1 trillion company.
You put all the pieces together.
And they own the Woodlands Mall and some other malls
Woodlands
here.
Mall, Baybrook Mall, Willowbrook Mall. But the thing is, they're international. So they own a lot of stuff globally.
And so you convinced them that you're the guy, and now you represent them all over Texas. Right.
So for their residential, because there's Brookfield residential.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So they were a developer, and in this town, they actually bought Newland Communities, which was a developer.
I remember Newland.
So it's a developer that is now building their own houses under their own brand. So all their developments now, they're building the houses, and you got to have a listing agent to list those houses to market.
And who do we have in mind for that person? Huh?
Cory loves to delegate a lot. So
yes.
Present, here I am. But to be clear, though, you said, yes, we do a lot of new construction. If you give Cory a choice, it will always be new. But we do have also clients that want the resale, and we do that as well.
Well, they go hand in hand. Let's face the fact that someone who's buying a new home may have something they have to sell.
That's right.
So,
we service
they go
all
hand
of
in
it.
hand.
Yes.
It really, for me, I specialize in new homes because of the challenge. So I don't see the thrill of helping someone buy $1 million home or selling their $1 million home. They can get anybody with any type of credentials to do that. But for someone who says, I have bad credit, to me, that's a mathematical challenge for me. So when I was in the military, I understood the algorithm behind the ASVAB test, right? There's like maybe 14 subjects that you're going to have to test on. They only count 4, like arithmetic and reading. So I said, if I understand how those 4 function, I can then teach the kids the math, right? The type of math that's going to be on there, right? And if I can spend time to teach them, then I'll have a higher conversion rate on enlistments. If someone came in and they were obese, and I knew the guidelines of what you have to weigh based on your height, and based on this guy has a lot of muscles and he's short, he's actually out of weight for his height. Then I said, let me reverse engineer what I need to do for this particular guy so that I can get a higher conversion rate. So for me, in real estate, I applied the same methodology of, you have a 550 credit score. It's only 5 factors that calculate the outcome of a score. Let me look at all 5 and tell you where you missed the mark, and we're going to go back and reverse engineer it. So for me, it's the thrill of the hunt, right? So, but also these are the types of people that they have the dream and desire to buy a home. If someone like myself does not step into that person's life, they will never own a home. That's why the average age of a first-time home buyer, based on NAR statistics last year, is 41 years old. That's sad.
That's sad.
A 41-year-old person is buying their very first home on average at 41. If you get a 30-year mortgage, think about it. You may not even be around by the time your mortgage is called, right? So for me, it's a purpose. It's a calling. I love the challenge. That's why I went on nuclear power submarines, because I knew nobody else would do it, right? So you got to be crazy to do that. So for me, it's the thrill of the
crazy.
chase.
Yeah.
And that's why when you came into our office back in January of 2010, you said, wait a minute, you guys aren't going to do listings? You're crazy. You'll never last. And I get it. Your mentality was list to last. But if you actually read the Gary Keller's book, $1 Million.
And I have.
So it's a 3L concept, right? The first L is listings to get what? The second L, which is leads, to get what? The third L, which is leverage. So I said, why would I go and get listings and beg people to sell their house? Like, I'm not going to door knock when I could do digital marketing before it was even a term called digital marketing, because the internet has millions of people and I can let the technology bring the people to me. Now I have the lead. So I took out the first L. And then what I did was the leverage is if I got hundreds of leads coming in weekly and I've got 30 agents, I now have the leverage because I can give the leads to them and then make a 30% cut on every deal. It's the same concept of the 3 L's. I just took one of the L's out of the equation.
I got the concept. You explained it very well, but a lot of people you're going after, most people ignored. And you you went after the person who needed your help, and they're going after the easy sale. Yeah, they got good credit. They can go bank.
But also, that's when we started, and now we're looking back, 22 years? These people nobody stays in a home for 30 years. So, yes, now we're doing the listings. Yes, now we do the $1 million homes. Yes, we do. But our heart has always been to the underdog, to that, that story that nobody can help because of our background.
Well, and of course, Houston area is very transient. And for a long time, it was like only 55% home ownership. That was the stat. I don't know if that holds true or not, but the issue we have now is affordability, and not necessarily the home, but we have insurance has gotten out of control. Yep. And I had a builder tell me the other day that 23% of their cost is regulations. So I don't know how to fix that, but that's the big A is the buzzword throughout the country at the national, state, and local levels. Affordability.
Yeah.
And most people are thinking, I'll never buy a home. I will never be able to buy a home. But there's programs out there now. You also all do lending, so I'm sure you probably work with TSHAC and some other programs. So talk a little bit about what's out there so people can understand. Hey, maybe a home or a new home is going to be a possibility for me.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
So affordability, that is what's stopping a lot of people from purchasing on a national level. That's not affecting us here in Southeast Texas, because the anomaly that we have is we are massively overbuilding brand new homes. Again, just like what happened in 2008 to 2012. So just in Harris County, there's 3,400 brand new homes right now for sale. Montgomery County, there's about 2,400. So those homes that the builders are building, because they're a business, right? They have to sell to stay alive. If not, they're going to have to merge. So the smaller builders will get gobbled up by the bigger builders. But mathematically, it's an anomaly for us because builders are willing to take some of their profit and apply it to a rate buy down. Like all my clients that I'm closing right now, they're getting anywhere from 3.25% fixed for 30 years up to about 4.99.
Because it's bought down.
Because it's being bought down. And the thing is, these builders, they're smart because if you're a national builder, really your productivity is going to be able to move your stock. That's where they make a good chunk of money, right? So, and the stock is going to move based on two numbers: how many permits you're done, because it predicts how many houses you're going to build, but then also your closing, right? And then there's profitability in there. But these builders here, which we call the mega builders, the Lennar, the D.R. Hortons, not only do they make a profit off the home, but they've got the mortgage, they've got the title, they've got the insurance. So it's 4 different ways that they're going to make money off of a house. And the thing is with their forward commitments, where they're saying nationally, we will commit to buy down, for example, the next 1,000 homes that are ready to close in the next 60 days, we will commit to buying the rate down to 3.99%. When you buy in bulk like that, you're not paying the same amount in discount points as an individual who says, I also want to get that 3.99, right? So for an individual, it may cost you probably about $18,000 to $20,000 to buy that rate down. For a builder, it might be $12,000 because they're buying in bulk.
Yeah.
So if you're in Houston or any of the surrounding areas and you believe that there is a mismatch with affordability, what I'm saying is nationally it's true, but not locally, because you got the rate going down. That helps affordability. The builders are actually dropping the prices of the home. Sometimes they're knocking off like up to 20% on the price of the home, and also insurance.
20%. I mean,
Yes.
hold on a second.
Yeah, don't believe the listing price. Oh, yes.
I personally got $69,000 off of a house in 2020. It was a Lennar house. It was a next gen, 4-bedroom, four full bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you got to be smart. Hey, that house has been sitting on the market for 6 months.
Call us. We'll negotiate.
What are you willing to do, right? They're like, we will take a loss to get it off our books, right?
Well, I know what it's, it's an expensive hobby. And when I was building, I had one of the best deals you can get was one over prime. Prime was 21%.
Wow.
So, yeah, builders want to get off that. It's costing them. So, I understand they have a motivation, and then they can get that out, maybe have marginal, make money off the, like I say, the mortgage and the insurance.
If someone defaults on a loan from a bank, does the bank go out of business?
Some of it did, yeah.
It may only be 10% default. So there is always a business projected loss, but you're still going to keep the company going. So they're willing to sacrifice in certain areas, but they're making money. Like if they take loss in Houston, you think they're going to take a loss in Florida where prices are still going up? It's a balancing act.
Well, we actually had a little bit increase in price. If you look at overall, because the first stat we get is usually combined new homes and resales and stuff like that. So we had a little bit of an increase in dollars, but a little decrease in numbers. Mm-hmm. So that's what we just had an MLS meeting about last week. So we got all the new stats of what's coming in. We've got 5.1 months supply of homes for resale. So we're doing okay. We're doing better than other areas are doing.
And then when you combine those benefits with the Montgomery County down payment assistance, $12,600, Harris County, $23,800, T-Shack, TD up to 5%, right? And a lot of our veterans out there are not aware that even though they don't have to have a down payment, right, from out of their own pocket, you can combine this to actually offset a lot of the...
hold that thought. We're going to have to take a little break here, but we're going to be right back.
There you go.
From the heights to Katy, Sugar Land too. If it's hot in real estate, we're talking it through. We got trends, we got taste.
If you've ever marketed a product or business, you know how much attention it takes to break through. But our nation's 250th is a rare moment that cuts through the noise. And with 77% of Americans saying it's an appropriate time to celebrate, your business has a green light to show up for our nation's big birthday party. Don't miss your chance to do it with iHeart and reach local listeners when they're ready to take action. Call 844-844-iHeart today to get started. That's 844-844-iHeart.
Home is not just where you live. It's where life happens. It's where your kids take their first steps, where family dinners turn into memories, and where your future quietly begins. At Rate, we understand that buying a home isn't just a transaction. It's one of the biggest moments of your life. And if you already own one, refinancing isn't just about numbers. It's about peace of mind. It's about lowering your payment, paying off debt, or finally taking that vacation you've been dreaming about. That's why we make the process easy, clear, and personal. No pressure, no confusion. Just honest guidance from people who care. Whether you're buying your first home or your next one, or refinancing the one you love, let us help you feel confident every step of the way. Rate. Great rates, amazing people, and a better way to home. Call 713-256-9138 today to get started. That's 713-256-9138.
If you run a business, consider this. 77% of Americans say our nation's 250th birthday is an appropriate time to celebrate. That gives you the green light to advertise. Let iHeart help you advertise around America 250. Call 844-844-iHeart today to get started.
And we're back. So we are sitting here talking about the new home sales, resales, financing, things that are available with Cory and Milly. And we also have Isaac Sharif here, who has been on before, and we're talking about a lot about AI and how it is becoming a huge piece of what we do as far as real estate and real estate marketing, things like that. So we can start this conversation any way we would like to. Isaac, you're certainly working with Shire because he has a product out there that is a unique product that allows you to capture leads and make them where you're going to interact with people without actually physically interacting with people. So we talk a little bit about AI that you've been using. And again, Isaac, be sure to chime in, ask questions, and talk about it, because we're starting to see AI everywhere, and it's actually part of our legal update and our broker responsibility classes. We talk about hallucinations. We're talking about things out there that seem plausible but aren't real, that type of thing. So what are you experiencing? What are you seeing in the future of AI?
So I think a lot of people in our industry, they just don't understand what it is. But what it is in essence is it's software that can scrub any source of data, whether it's on the internet, it can be in a video. You can feed it, like verbally feed it data. And not only does it have the ability within milliseconds to just scrub so many data sources to bring back information to you, it's now at the point where it can create. So how we've been using AI is when I decided to change direction from what we were doing at newhomeprograms.com to creating HOMEROCK Realty, HOMEROCK Mortgage, HOMEROCK Insurance, I looked at where the industry was going for real estate agents in the form of brokerages. And I've always said that eventually real estate and mortgage will start to imitate World Financial Group, Primerica, Mary Kay, because as you get older, what's going to happen is your sales are going to drop. Either you just don't want to sell a bunch of stuff, or your body's going to give out, or economic changes like COVID. And what's going to happen is people are going to look for side hustles, right? You know, a lot of real estate agents right now, they're Uber drivers. So
yeah, I have issues about that, because when people are getting side hustles, they tell me right then and there they're not very good at real estate.
Fact.
Well, okay, so I could throw an arguing opinion. So what if COVID happened and it said we do not allow builders to build homes because we're going to lock up the lumber, it's going to jump to $1,600, so prices are going to skyrocket, $50,000 a house. There'll be a shortage of inventory, multiple offers. Like the agent who was amazing even during the COVID years wasn't selling anything.
Well, if you didn't do business during COVID, you were just staying home. But there was a ton of business being done. It was one of the hottest markets we've ever had. 1.3 months supply of homes, 3% interest rates.
We were busy.
And so everybody that I personally know was very busy.
So that was an anomaly. So in 2021,
definitely
rates did
an
drop
anomaly.
below 3. But after that, rates went up in the 7s for like 4 summers in a row. But the problem was, it wasn't really the rates. Is when you have less inventory, you got to slow down the sales, right? So the government, they lagged behind sales. So when everybody had a rush on homes at rates below 3, like I got 2 mortgages that are like under 2.8, it sucked up all the inventory, so there was nothing left to sell. So if you're a good salesperson and there's nothing to sell, that doesn't make you a bad salesperson because your numbers drop. And this is why a lot of the agents, when NAR did their study, said 49% of agents sold 1 or 0, and then 2024, it said they sold 79% sold 0. In Houston, that doesn't really affect us, but in other areas, the inventory.
That stat has held true in all markets, by the way. We actually did an analysis, and we extrapolated that in 2008, we only had 30,000 agents in the Houston area at that time. They had 0 one side. That's just true. So take those people out of the equation totally, because they're not producers. They got into real estate to sell to their families, or if they got in there for some reason.
I'm talking about producers. Let me tell you how it looked for us at the mortgage company. When rates dropped, we're closing 20 deals a month. When rates went up and inventory shrank, actually before the rates went up, inventory shrank first, thus causing rates to go up. We had 150 people pre-approved, but there was no house.
Rates went up for this reason. 2022 or 23, the government basically said, you know what, we're going to slow down on buying mortgage-backed securities, because they were buying it to the tune of $40 billion a month. They didn't taper off. They just stopped. And rates went to the natural elevation where it was, because the rates have been, if you take a history of 30 years, if you average them out, it's probably about 6%.
Yeah, but I was in a market from 2003 all the way. So literally it's like someone turned on a light switch in January of 2013 and the market auto-corrected. So when I got in the business, because again, there was a massive amount of homes, the rate for FHA was about 6.875. I remember, because affordable housing, it wasn't there because the prices were going up. So at $89,000 house that Royce was building in 2003, that same house was $134 exactly 12 months later, right? And the rates was high, so I had to use the state bond program, 4.99, just so people could afford that $134. price, but then they overbuilt and the rates went high. That's exactly what's happening right now. It's deja vu all over again. We've overbuilt, rates are high, and until they bring those rates down, we're not going to get all those homes sold. So in 2021, it was an anomaly that they'll probably never do again in American history.
You will never see it again.
They should have never dropped the rates below 3%. Now, we made a lot of money.
I feel like people are still waiting, though, for some reason. On the mortgage side, it's like it's high compared to what?
It's education, and I think we can do a better job is to have our agents and brokerages out there educate the consumer, both whether new homes and or resale, they do it. And like I say, we're getting into AI. Now, here's what some of the things I already see happening out there. I had an agent come to me, and I get agents call me all the time. Hey, this is what's happening in my world. I've got this contract like this, and I have this problem with my client. And this particular case was they have AI now. Now, what could possibly go wrong? Well, they learned how to use ChatGPT.
Oh, my goodness.
And they went out and did an analysis. This is an agent who was representing a buyer, and they had come up with a plan of what they're going to offer. So the buyer decided to go to ChatGPT and came back to the agent and goes, oh, look, we need to offer $100,000 less because I just did an analysis with ChatGPT.
That is happening more often than you would think.
Oh, no, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Isaac can tell you, so you got to ask it the right questions. You got to give it the right information, and they don't even know how to write. And then again, that's why I'm not really concerned about AI replacing us. It's a tool to streamline your process. It's a tool to do like you're doing which is you have a brilliant job that you're doing with social media, and the flyers and things like that you're doing are beautiful, and that's great and streamlined the job. But when the consumer starts using that, thinking, "Hey, well, I know how to do ChatGPT now. I can do an analysis myself," and then that's why the human factor needs to come in, because we know. You've got to kind of compare apples to apples, and they'll just take a broad area and do an analysis. You got to tighten that little area up.
Right.
You got to tell it. They need to be a 4-bedroom against a 4-bedroom. It needs to be, within maybe a half a mile of where your subject property is, and do your analysis from there.
Yeah, you gotta teach it. So, for example, if you've been in the business, you know that seasonality determines your list price. Right? In the summer, obviously you can get more for your house, especially when May comes, because most people are selling and most people are buying.
That's certainly one factor, but the other factor is availability of product. Yeah. Like you can have new home sales prices drop a little bit because like you said, they overbuilt.
Yeah, and also they're going to drop prices almost exactly 30 days for the end of their quarter, but their quarter doesn't go from like January to December, right? Most of them, their end of year quarter is going to be probably around October, November. But that's knowledge that you have as a human, right? So if the agent doesn't have that type of knowledge, but the thing is when you do a CMA, agents will say, I'm going to look at 12 months of data. The problem is, what if rates were 7% last summer and the rates are now 6.25?
I don't like it 12 months. I tighten it up. I like to go back 3 months.
Exactly. But a new agent doesn't know that unless someone taught him. So, and if that agent's not taught, how do they teach the AI?
Who do we know could actually train those people? I'm trying to think of who we have out there.
If we
Why do you think we're doing all these C classes?
We knew somebody.
We only choose somebody. But that's it. That's why I don't think we're going to be replaced. And that's a big concern about that. And again, we use it as a tool. And so kind of look at it from that perspective. But then, of course, we're doing it for... they're doing it now, but the thing that is happening out there is that we're doing AI, and I think from the consumer's perspective, they just think, I've learned how to do ChatGPT, and look what I did.
But what does that mean? So for me, AI is...
And Claude and all the other ones out there.
Create,
yeah.
Right? But if you're going to create someone, there's always intelligent design, right? So it's create, for me, and analyze. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to make a move. Instead of me having 5 people saying, I'm going to make this move, what do you think? What could be the outcome? Where could I step on the booby trap, right? AI within seconds could make an argument against what I'm going to do, right? I don't have time to find 5 people and call them up, hey, I'm about to do this. So for me, it's analyzing, but also creating. And the thing is, with AI, it can create stuff faster and better than if I hired somebody at Fiverr,
Absolutely.
right? I don't like going to Fiverr and saying, out of thousands of people who say they can do the same thing, how do I know which one is going to be the best? So if a person is already not creating at that level of what ChatGPT can do, then it's not really replacing someone, because there's no one that can do what this thing can do in the blink of an eye. So when people say it's going to replace, I think it's not going to replace humans, but what it's going to do is empower humans to take what's in their mind and bring it into reality. Yeah. Because I can't communicate. I fight with my designers and say, hey, you know my style. I love these colors. I love circles over squares. But I argue with them because they want to say, well, I think this would look better. AI says we get exactly what you want and we obey.
Cory loves AI because it doesn't talk back to him.
Well, it does. It will argue.
So he doesn't come to you for that information. Right. Is that what you're telling me?
He knows that.
So, anyway, but again, it's a tool. It can certainly enhance your business. It can make you more productive, but it's not going to replace us. And of course, when the consumer gets a hold of it,
it's going to replace the person that is not going to take advantage of the tool, right? So it's going to replace some folks that are not going to adapt to it. I think that, so you got to get smart with it.
Well, that's one of the first things I do in the class, because we have in 2 different classes where they're introducing AI and the issues that, of course, Trek is looking and concerned about. Some things could happen, of course, misleading the public, because you're creating images and you're creating, they can actually produce a room. In fact, one of the examples has, AI produced a living room that has a pool in it.
What?
Yeah, it's in your legal update too. And so Trek's concern is going to mislead. And the other thing is they're concerned about violation of fair housing. So those are the 2 big concerns Trek have. And of course, misleading is the number one thing they look for anytime there's an advertising complaint.
Yeah, you gotta feed it the prompt. Make this to be compliant.
Yes,
and it'll do it. It'll put the equal opportunity logos and all that stuff on there.
How many agents think are going to do that?
Right.
Well, I teach my agents. I started with IBS. That logo's right there in the upper left hand.
So
corner.
now we have 80 agents now that we know of that are compliant in your firm. But so anyway, and of course, I don't know how it's impacting your insurance business and mortgage business. I don't know if you're using that to enhance those businesses.
You know what it does to enhance us on the business side? When it comes to having a website, and you should be creating content, blogs and pages, and just building that thing, because AI is only as good as the data it can find. So before, it's like, oh my God, I got to hire someone to do a blog, and they'll be done in 48 hours, and get the images, and then you tag the image to make sure that we can get the SEO code tag. I could just tell the AI, I need 5 articles per week. Create the images, create all the relevant keywords based on what a person's going to search, and then immediately this thing publishes it out. So who's going to win with AI is who has the most information that's on the World Wide Web.
Well, I mean, if you go to ChatGPT, it's going to be pretty prevalent because everybody knows it. But now we got Claude, we got Grok, we've got a bunch of others out there. That it is an algorithm that goes out there and it'll get everything that's out there out there in cyberspace. And now we got the new data centers. I don't know if you've heard much about the controversy about data centers. Eats up a lot of water, eats up a lot of electricity, and nobody wants it in their backyard, but we're going to have them.
Like nuclear reactors.
It's kind of like, wow. And they're very sublimely getting into these areas. They want to build these data centers, and they're being very secretive about it. So I don't know how that's going to impact communities. I know I think one up in the Willis area, which is Conroe and things like that. I know there's some people kind of feeling around to do a data center. I don't know. Isaac, what have you heard much about data centers and stuff?
I probably heard 3 hours worth of content. That's a lot of information. So there's all kinds of different ways to talk about data centers in terms of like why people want them, why they're great investments, how people are financing them, the different types of power supply, how long it's taken to hook up to transmission lines. There are innovative companies that are basically drilling geothermal wells and then using the heat and extracting that heat and storing it as electricity in batteries. There's the natural gas that is a byproduct of hydrocarbon extraction, especially out in West Texas. That is, because of its price, it's not really considered, well, actually, because of the infrastructure, it's not really considered commercial for a lot of those oil and gas enterprises to actually try to sell that. So instead of flaring it, because of regulatory commissions, they try to find pipelines to stuff it into. They're not really getting much, not much of a return on that investment. So along comes data centers with, people or businesses that will take that gas and convert it to electricity. So any one of those topics we can spend hours.
Everybody wants one, but they don't want it in their backyard. Yeah. But I know agents out there, with some broker out there, who probably make some really good money selling land to some of these people who want to set up these data centers. So it's going to be an interesting controversy. It's like you say, nuclear. It's like having a nuclear reactor. I don't want it in my backyard, but you really think it's a cool idea to have.
That's actually another option for powering these data centers are miniaturized reactors.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that might be a whole other show.
Elon, he'll figure it out. He's always harping on we're not harnessing the power of the sun at the level we could.
Well, I've got really strong feelings about solar panels and how they're used and how they're applied and things of that nature. And it's not necessarily a very positive thing because the return is not really great that an individual can achieve, and the tax credits have gone away. So what I understand is that regulators are going to say, look, if you're going to do a data center, you're going to have to create your own electricity. I think that's what we're talking about. Thermal might be it. I don't know what the answer is.
Solar power is another option.
I was
talking to I had a conversation with a guy who's in private equity that's closing a deal on a Meta data center somewhere in the California Central Valley, and they are using, because of the efficiency of today's solar panels compared to where they were 20 years ago, they can generate a lot higher electricity content or electricity for battery storage. So they were able to hook up and get their data center online a whole lot quicker because they're using a solar panel farm.
Exclusively?
Yeah.
Well, that's
primary. Primary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's other things out there that are going to be that. And actually, there was a program. It's called the Boom Box. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the Bloom Box. That actually they have found that using silicate, it's that they can actually have a catalytic reaction with natural gas that produces electricity. And I'm not even hearing much about that. And that's been out for a long, long time. So there's going to be some other alternate energy sources out there that we're going to have to find, because there's going to be a huge demand for AI, data centers, new subdivisions coming out. That's sometimes about having to develop or having new subdivisions. We have to have water, got to have electricity.
That's right.
And that's the biggest challenge. So what do you see with Brookfield? Their biggest challenge is in developing new subdivisions and stuff.
So where they're building out in Texas, they're always near major cities.
Yeah.
So if you look at their five, so Frisco is going to be obviously out in Dallas. They got Easton Park is connected to Austin. They got San Marcos. They got Kissing Tree. And then out here they got Katy and Ellison with Midline. So they're always going to have access to the resources. So I don't see us going to be limiting. Right now with limiting builders is they're overbuilding again, right? And what happens across the nation is if you're a builder in a different state and it's just not working out mathematically, where do they all come to survive? They come to Texas. So we got more builders arriving from out of state, and it just keeps diluting.
Well, if it's true what I was told, that 23% of their costs are because of regulation, where do you go? You go to states that don't regulate as highly as other states regulate. And tax is higher. And, now they're talking about in Florida and in Texas about getting rid of property tax.
That would be amazing.
I don't know what they're going to replace it with. There was actually a little survey that was done on a primary election, and I remember going in to vote, and they had those little questionnaires. How do you feel about, getting rid of property taxes? Of course, the first thing I think of is what are you going to replace it with?
Yeah, exactly. Personal income tax is what
they are not going to fall on that sword.
X.
So if you bring more people into your state because they're saving with a lot of the exemptions we get, right? Not everybody has $1 million. Like Patrick Bet-David, I think he said he pays $300,000 a year in property taxes. We don't have Patrick Bet-David houses, right? So in Texas, if the average person, $300,000 less, let's say they're paying about $7,000, $8,000 a year in taxes. People start to move here. That's gone out of the equation. But the more people come, they're going to be consuming more things. So we already have a sales tax. I don't think anybody ever talks about the sales tax. I'm not talking about like cigarettes and alcohol, but isn't it like 6.28 or something?
When you talk about it's kind of a use tax. I kind of can understand that and appreciate that. I mean, I'm buying something, and okay, we're going to tax on that. It's a use tax. It's just like a lot of people get upset about the toll roads, but you know what? We would not have the toll system if it weren't for that toll roads, because the TxDOT has been, robbed and taken money away from them. That build roads is the only way you can get those roads on there is by use. Okay, I use it, and I don't complain about having to pay a toll. And I'm okay with that.
You know who I would come after? That's getting a tax and does nothing? Visa, MasterCard, Amex. Like they're getting what? 2.5, maybe 3% on every sales transaction where we use plastic. That's why they took money out of our pocket. No, you got to use the plastic, right? Where's Visa located? Have you ever met a Visa employee? These are $1 trillion companies, like trillions every year, passing to these people. Like, where's that money going?
You're too young to remember. We used to have usury laws. Maximum you could get was 10%. Then they lifted those usury laws, and then cards went to 25, 30%.
I'm not talking about the interest that the bank gets.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Visa. What do they do with the 2.5%? I don't see a big Visa building. I don't see a state named after. Like they're making trillions of dollars every year. Like, so if our sales tax is 6.8, let's just say 6.8, and they're making 2.5 just by swiping the card, which is the merchant that's paying. Where's that money at?
Well, it's going to
they're making
Visa,
money off
MasterCard,
of every transaction.
And of course, you got to think about every entity out there now has their own card.
Exactly.
And they always entice
you.
Yeah.
It's a con. And the reason I know this is because we had our own partnership with Visa and First Bank Card of Omaha. So the new home programs
had a credit card.
Every time someone swiped it, we got a third of the profits, right? But what are they doing with their profit? Well, where's the money at?
So now you're going to start a revolution.
They're making money off of us. I sell you something. They made money.
Even debit cards are making money every time you do it. I guess Zelle's the only time that's free because I have Zelle's money just comes in your account. Not a fee.
The plastic card is only 25 cents. We were producing the cards.
So anyway, we're kind of coming to the end of the show. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
It's very simple. Use ChatGPT. How do I get a hold of HOMEROCK Realty or Milly and Cory Kammerdiener?
Yeah, right. Yes,
it'll find us. Trust me.
Okay. Well, give a like URL or something to tell them.
www.homerockrealty.com
or www.homerockmortgage.com or HOMEROCKINSURANCE.com.
All three. And so anyway, how can we get a hold of you, Isaac?
Oh, listing host. It's all one word. .com.
So until next week, we are out for the day.
You've been rolling with a Rat Pack. Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate, and Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage. Together, they're bringing you the inside scoop, from contracts to closings, from rates to real life, making home ownership sound oh so good. So whether you're buying, selling, or just dreaming big, remember, the Real Estate Rat Pack's got your back. Tune in next week, same time, same station, for more homes, humor, and a little Rat Pack swagger.
The Real Estate Rat Pack Show, where dreams find their...
If you've ever marketed a product or business, you know how much attention it takes to break through. But our nation's 250th is a rare moment that cuts through the noise. And with 77% of Americans saying it's an appropriate time to celebrate, your business has a green light to show up for our nation's big birthday party. Don't miss your chance to do it with iHeart and reach local listeners when they're ready to take action. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Home is not just where you live. It's where life happens. It's where your kids take their first steps, where family dinners turn into memories, and where your future quietly begins. At Rate, we understand that buying a home isn't just a transaction. It's one of the biggest moments of your life. And if you already own one, refinancing isn't just about numbers. It's about peace of mind. It's about lowering your payment, paying off debt, or finally taking that vacation you've been dreaming about. That's why we make the process easy, clear, and personal. No pressure, no confusion. Just honest guidance from people who care. Whether you're buying your first home or your next one, or refinancing the one you love, let us help you feel confident every step of the way. Rate. Great rates, amazing people, and a better way to home. Call 713-256-9138 today to get started. That's 713-256-9138.
Hi, this is New Jersey Attorney General Jen Davenport. If you are caught driving impaired, you face hefty fines, a suspended license, and possibly even jail time. Worse yet, you could cause a crash that would devastate someone's life or your own. Be responsible. Never drive drunk or high. Hi, this is New Jersey Attorney